the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Beth Sewald with this edition of the WC podcast. I am thrilled to be here today. Of course, we're with the Vegas Chamber, the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce, here today with our chair, Michael Fetter from Dickinson Wright. Michael, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Well, you know, this is 2022. I think the last 2 years have been kind of a blur. I like to say the COVID years were like dog years. This is really our first year at the Chamber, sort of, I guess what everybody has characterized coming off of the pandemic in a way. And you have taken the Chamber, your leadership, to a lot of new heights. You know, we were, at home, we weren't working even at our offices, we weren't having events, and now here we are. Things are kind of exploding. How do you feel about it all?
I really enjoy it. I mean, I think the thing people have been missing is face-to-face, not Zoom face-to-face, but in-person face-to-face. And going around to events and being there and watching people. They're excited again to be out there in person, to be in meetings, to be in rooms, to network, to socialize. There's so many things that the pandemic took away. But as a business community, it also, as much the business community came together during the pandemic, I think it brought the community really close together. Getting back face-to-face is now taking it to another level, I believe.
I think so too. And the Chamber has been a leader in reconvening a lot of people and organizations. And speaking of all of that, you know, we've got the Washington, DC Flyin coming up, and it will be in person. I remember back in 2020, it was virtual. And now we're going to be back in person again. And we're going to have a record number of people going on this trip under your leadership.
I'm excited. Again, I tell people this all the time. I remember the first time I did the DC Flyin, and people told me about it, but until you're there, you don't understand it and experience it. The Vegas Chamber and the delegation that comes out they come to meet us at the DC Flyin, and it's a room full of business leaders. They are talking about the business issues, things that are important to our Nevada business community, and our delegations there meeting with us, policy people there meeting with us. It's an amazing opportunity. I describe it, and I say it all the time, that people understand the importance of the Vegas Chamber. When you go to the DC Flyin, to me, you learn the power of the Vegas Chamber.
I love that. That's a really interesting way to look at it, because with our government affairs apparatus, you know, you can see the power of the Chamber in Carson City and on a statewide level. But when you get to Washington, D.C., and you see the literally 180 people that go on this trip along with us, and we're there in front of the Nevada delegation and other leaders, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. You know, I've been to DC often, and with the Chamber as well, and we're going to our delegation. This is an opportunity for the delegation to come to us. That's how important it is. I mean, you're right. It's 180 people, decision makers, business decision makers who are there to think about the entire community and what's best for the business community. And they want to hear from us. I mean, it's one of the things when people said to me that before I went my first time, that until you experience it, you won't understand it. I go as often as I can. I actually love it. It's actually energizing to go. I don't look at it as a business trip. I look at it as an opportunity for my voice to be heard.
And it really is. And with so many people, it is really impactful, the number of people, as opposed to just one person talking to our Nevada delegation. It literally is a group of 180 Nevadans from across the entire state. So it's important.
It is. And it's small business, medium businesses, large business. We all come together. And one of the things you learn on that trip is how much commonality there is. I mean, there are so many things that all sectors of the business are dealing with right now. Small, medium, large. Everyone's dealing with workforce issues. Everyone's dealing with everything that ties into getting that workforce back. The pandemic kind of pushed things in one direction, and now we're trying to pull that workforce back in, and everybody's dealing with that at this point in time.
That's true. And the Chamber truly is able to move the needle on a lot of important issues for Nevada, certainly Southern Nevada. This year, we're going to be talking about water. That's something you see on the news every day now with the lake levels, Lake Mead. You know, you see boats sticking out of the mud and things like that. We're going to be talking about labor issues, like you said, workforce, healthcare. I mean, you name it, and the Chamber is going to be talking about it. And and again, like I say, moving the needle on things that are important here. What are some of your, I guess, most meaningful memories about things that we were actually able to talk about in DC?
I remember the first time I went to DC, one of the biggest issues then was Yucca Mountain. And back then, people were really concerned about that happening again. And I remember how impactful the group being there and the questions that were being asked, not just, everybody got up and got a chance to ask questions. And that's where I realized, wow, they're listening to us. And it wasn't just our delegation that was listening to us. There were other members of Congress from different states that were there as well listening to us. That moved the needle. That, I believe, helped stop people were thinking were going to happen with Yucca Mountain, right? Same thing is happening with respect now. Water, right, is a major element. I believe our delegation and other members of Congress are going to need to listen to us about the importance of dealing with the issues with water, because once we can, I hate using the word fix the problem, but come to some understanding of how to better resolve and deal with the issue with our water problem. And it's not just within Nevada, it's all the states that utilize Lake Mead. That will impact everything else. It impacts the ability to bring in businesses. It impacts the ability to bring in the right workforce. Because I think a lot of people are now concerned about that in terms of bringing that here, in terms of the workforce coming here as well. So there are so many things. But the one that I remember at the beginning was the Yucca Mountain impact that the chamber had at that point in time.
Yeah, that was certainly an important one. And we continue to go and make Nevadans' voices heard on Capitol Hill. So it's really great. The dates are September 19th through the 22nd. It seems like September sounds like a long ways away, but it's here. Feels like tomorrow. So
you're going to blink and it's here.
I know. So we look forward to being able to serve our community in that way. And of course, we encourage Vegas Chamber members to check us out at vegaschamber.com or call us at the chamber as well.
Yeah, it is. And I keep on saying this, let your voice be heard, because it's an opportunity. There may be 180 people there, but every single voice will be heard at that DC Flyin. We talked about it a second ago, and I mentioned Yucca Mountain, but I remember another thing that was so important. The second year that I wound up going was when the Associated Health Plan started coming back, and the importance that became, and the importance of you, Mary Beth, and the delegation that was there meeting with the Labor Commissioner to get that moving forward. Again, it was this chamber that was at the lead with respect to getting that Associated Health Plan moving forward again. And other chambers were following what you and the executive team and the chamber was doing at that point in time. So again, people think Nevada and Southern Nevada, our population, it's grown to where it is today, that we're not the largest of the community, but we are powerful. And I think you really get that when you come to that DC Flyin.
I think so too. And you mentioned the health plans. That was such an important thing for the chamber to be the tip of the spear. And we met, as you mentioned, with Secretary of Labor Alexander Acosta, and the Vegas Chamber was the first in the country to be able to bring that association health plan. And that's so important. And under your leadership, we actually have just implemented what I would call phase 2 of the health plan. And that's so important because our smallest of members now have an avenue, a pathway to provide health care to their own employees. And I know that was a priority of yours in your vision for your year as chair.
It is. Healthcare is so important to everybody. And to be able to provide healthcare to the smallest of businesses at this point in time, it was so important. When the Associated Health Plan came back, there were some roadblocks that came up, and thankfully we'd be able to work through some of those roadblocks and get to the point we are today, that almost every business right now in Nevada, through the chamber, is able to get a health plan, and it's so important to existing businesses, new businesses coming into Nevada, into Southern Nevada. I know personally how important healthcare is with respect to myself. And it's so important to me to everybody to have that level of healthcare in Nevada.
It is, and it's one of the other reasons it's important. I mean, we talk about workforce today. We're at Workforce Connections doing the WC podcast, and we talk about workforce, and our members at the Vegas Chamber talk to us regularly about how hard it is to attract and retain a quality, talented workforce. And so one of the ways you want to do that is not just pay by any stretch, right? You need benefits. So in addition to having for an employer to have high quality, affordable health care, having a 401k is important too. And the chamber has a retirement plan.
It is. I mean, the chamber has so many benefits that it provides to its members. I mean, Associated Health Plan and the Associated Retirement Plan that came out a few years ago. There are certain things that's, it's not even just for small businesses. There's so many costs involved with having a 401k that if you're a member of the chamber and you sign up for the 401k plan, that gets absorbed through that you'll be able to provide that. I mean, we're at a point in time where people think about retirement, and one of the best avenues for that is through the 401k. And for small businesses, medium businesses, it becomes so expensive to do it through the chamber. And admittedly, Mary Beth, through your leadership, that this has truly come out. I mean, the Associated Health Plan, I mean, it's a robust plan. I mean, I'm proud to have been on that committee from the beginning as well and getting it started. But it's an amazing plan. I mean, and if our members have not looked at it yet, they should. I mean, I can compare it to what my firm offers, and it's as good, if not better, than what my firm even offers in terms of the 401k plan. So up to our members that may be listening, if you haven't thought about it, look at it. Look at our Associated Health Plans. Look at our Associated Retirement Plan. There are so many benefits out there for the members of the chamber.
And joining the chamber is worth that alone.
It is.
We talk a lot, again, about workforce. And one of the things we identified over the last year, along with County Commissioner Marilyn Kirkpatrick, was that a barrier to bringing back the workforce was child care, actually, because so many parents out there now found themselves having worked from home for so long that now they don't have a place to take their kids for childcare. And so the Vegas Chamber teamed up with Commissioner Marilyn Kirkpatrick to provide free memberships to childcare facilities. So that was a great way for us to try to help bolster those childcare facilities. Have you encountered any people in the workforce who have said, wow, I would go back to work, but I can't afford to because of childcare? Is that anything you've run across?
Absolutely. I've heard that for a long time. We had it in my household, with my daughter when she was born. It was a number of years ago, but we dealt with that aspect. You balance it. Of going back to work, the cost of childcare, it's expensive. It's not inexpensive. And the fact that we put together this program, it's an amazing aspect for someone who wants to get back to the workforce and didn't have that support for childcare, to have that support now, to be able to get back to the workforce. It gives another avenue, another option to people who want to get back in the workforce. And it's actually, people don't realize this element of the childcare as well. It's so much more important for your child as well, to be in there and socializing with other young children. It's a skill to learn very early on. I mean, we did that with my daughter when she was younger, to get that socialization. If you're there at home with your child and the child doesn't get that opportunity to socialize, there's an element to that can impact them later on. So to have that, when you have people who want to get back to work, and you give them the option that we now have through the chamber, the coverage with respect to childcare, it's a double benefit. You get back someone in the workforce that we need the labor right now, right? We need people to get back there, but it's also so much better for their child to be out there socializing with other kids.
Yeah, definitely. So any child care facilities out there should really check out the chamber, because we're giving away those free memberships. So it's a huge benefit to that other industry completely. So switching gears a little bit, we're halfway through the year already. It's July. I can't believe it. Looking ahead, what are some of your priorities that you still have yet to accomplish for the rest of the year? We've got the Flyin, lots that we're gearing up for the next legislative session.
There's the election that's coming up as well that we're gearing up for. I mean, for me, we've talked about the Associated Health Plan, the retirement plan. One of the big things for me is creating a better understanding for small businesses, the better understanding of the benefits they get through the chamber. We're in the process of putting together a small business task force to kind of get a better understanding of what small businesses require and what they need from, we talked about them, childcare, from benefits, but also their own form of networking. Small businesses want to work with other small businesses. So I've worked hand in hand with Shondell Newsom. He's the chair of the Urban Chamber. He's also a trustee for our chamber. And we've talked about this from the beginning of the year. And so one of my goals, hopefully by the end of the year, is to have that in place so that it's something continues beyond 2022 into 23 and beyond, so that small businesses understand the full benefits they get from being a member of the chamber.
Exactly. You touched on something that's critically important, and it's a huge part of the services that the chamber provides, and that is candidate endorsements, talking about the election. And, it's so important for the public, general public, to be educated about the candidates, because it's hard to learn about individuals unless you kind of have a barometer of other folks like the Vegas Chamber making those endorsements. So it gives you some level of credibility and comfort as a voter to say, if the Vegas Chamber endorses this candidate, then I can feel comfortable that they would be a high quality individual. And I know that you've sat in on just about all of the interviews. Tell us about how that works.
And I wish I could have sat through all of them. I probably sat through a little bit more than half of them. But one of the things I learned is, again, one of the things about being chair and then joining the Government Affairs Committee is you don't realize the work that Government Affairs Committee puts into it. I mean, we talk about the DC element and what the Government Affairs Committee and Paul Maracan do with respect to DC, but what they do to vet our candidates is amazing. And the goal is to try to find the best business-friendly candidates we can that have the understanding of what it is to be a small business or a medium business or a large business, to all businesses in Southern Nevada, and understand the importance of that. And the amount of work and time and effort that goes into that by Paul and Maracan and his team, as well as the Government Affairs Committee and the volunteer hours that go into that, it's amazing. I mean, I admittedly, first few meetings I sat through, I listened because I have not been through the process before. And I was amazed at the amount of time and effort and thought. That's the thing. This is not something that just, you just check a box. This is a lot of thought that goes into each of these candidate interviews, dealing with all the important issues, things that you talked about, dealing with water, dealing with workforce, dealing with healthcare, all of the important things that get talked to with all the candidates to make sure that the chamber is endorsing those candidates that truly have our business community in mind. And they do it. I mean, they put a lot of effort into that. Chair Hugh Anderson of the committee, he makes sure it gets done and gets done correctly. And the people who show up to do the interviews, they're taking it seriously. And it's a lot of time and effort. So I'm proud to have been on that committee. I'm proud to have been involved with it this year. And I'm proud of the endorsements that they did make this year, and across party lines as well. And it's important because it was really focusing on the business community.
You brought up the next point I was going to make, across party lines. For anybody who doesn't really understand, some think, it's funny, some people think the chamber leans Democrat, some people think the chamber leans Republican. Kind of dispel that myth a little bit for us.
I would tell you the chamber leads towards what's best for the business community. And that candidate who has the best interest of the community, not their party, right? There's an element in today's world, and I not to get into that in terms of politics, that things are being pulled towards certain elements of extremes. Vegas Chamber, the Government Affairs Committee focus upon the candidates that really want to work towards what's best towards the business community. And I can tell you it's being done that way. And it doesn't make a difference if you're a Republican, Democrat, or an independent. We're endorsing people across all party lines for that because we really focus on who has the business community's interests at heart.
And when we talk about the business community, it could sound a little impersonal, but truly we are not only pro-employer, but the chamber is pro-employee as well. And so when we go to endorse our candidates, like you just said, we're looking for individuals who have the employer and employee best interest at heart because truly small business across Nevada, it's the lifeblood and the fabric of our community.
It really is. And within that element, when we're talking about it, we talk about the associated health plan, the associated retirement plan, affordable housing is very important in terms of talking about that because that impacts workforce. It all comes back to that because that's all we need to support our businesses, especially our small businesses.
Well, Chair Fetter, you've done so much. I know we're only halfway through the year. We've got a lot of work still to go, but we appreciate your leadership. And if there's anything else you want to chat about today?
when I was first asked to be chair, you don't understand what the full scope of it is. I'm proud to have been chair. I'm proud to be chair and continue to be chair for the rest of this year because of what, admittedly, and I said earlier, what you, Mary Beth, and your team does. I mean, there's a lot of discussion and a lot of reference about, and I say this to you all the time, and I'm going to put it on the record with respect to this as well. There's a lot of focus on being the chair, but it's your guidance, your leadership, with the rest of the executive team, Paul, Jose, I'm going to miss other people as well with respect to it all. But that team, people don't understand how dedicated that team is, your team is, you are to the business community. People can see because you guys are everywhere, but everywhere you go, you always have the business community at heart. And I am proud to be part of that. I'm proud to be chair of the trustees that get to watch it, what you do. And, if anyone ever has a question about what the chamber does, I will tell you, I've learned this year, the chamber since the pandemic and before have done it. But it has, in my being there as often as I am now, I can see that light. And it's not just the end of the tunnel. I'm in the tunnel with everybody, and it's amazing. So I'm proud to be a part of the chamber. I've always been proud to be a trustee. I'm so proud to be the chair, and I'm very proud to work hand in hand with you this past year and to reach these goals that we've talked about.
Oh, wow.
Or to achieve them, I should say, the goals.
Absolutely. And thank you. I mean, I'm humbled by your words. We couldn't do it without a stellar board of trustees and leadership like you and the rest of the board at the Vegas Chamber. So thank you.
My pleasure.
All right.
It's been fun. And we'll continue having fun.
Yes, we will. We have some more work to do.
We do. And when I say having fun, it's working. My philosophy, just to be real quick on this, is you achieve goals. Sometimes you do have to be serious, but you can do it in a manner that doesn't always feel serious. And that's what I meant. So it's a lot of hard work, and we're going to get there. And at the same time, we'll have a little bit of fun achieving those and watching the businesses realize what we're achieving.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for your leadership at the Vegas Chamber, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. And thank you for watching this edition of the WC Podcast. I'm Mary Beth Sewald with the Vegas Chamber. All right, Mr. Michael Fetter, we are now in our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
I am. Let's go.
All right, segment number 1 is your favorites. Your favorite food.
All right, my favorite food, steak.
Your favorite movie.
Ooh, The Natural.
Your favorite city to visit.
Ooh, 2 different. One, if I want to go back, I'm originally from New York. I love the city atmosphere, but for me, it's getting to a beach, so Hawaii.
Excellent.
Oahu.
Your favorite subject in school.
Ooh, besides gym, math. At that point in time, it was math.
Excellent. Your favorite artist or musical group?
So my friends will tell you it's Led Zeppelin. I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan. I've always have been. I just love the music.
Okay. Your favorite holiday?
Honestly, that's a tough one for me. I will say we're a mixed family, so it's hard for me to say this. So I'll say Christmaka, Hanumas, because we celebrate both.
Christmaka and Hanumas.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, I know the answer to this one. Your favorite sports team?
Golden Knights,
Excellent.
Of course.
Go Knights, go. Okay, segment 2 is called Tough Choices. Are you ready?
Yes.
Vacation in the U.S. or abroad?
Abroad.
Camping or glamping?
Glamping.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Owe money or owe a favor?
Owe a favor.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Justice or grace?
What was that?
Justice or grace?
Justice.
Being an attorney.
Yes, obviously.
Actions or words?
Actions.
Segment number 3, finish the sentence.
Ooh.
Okay? If Michael could live anywhere, it would be?
Las Vegas.
Yes. Michael's favorite thing about his job is?
Interacting with people.
The best part of living in Southern Nevada is?
The people.
3 words that describe Michael are?
Ooh, that's a tough one for me. I'm very humble when it comes to that, but I am very direct. Yeah, humble. I'm direct, and I am confident.
Excellent. All right. If Michael could travel back in time, he would travel to?
Ooh, Civil War time.
Wow.
I would love, that's one of my favorite eras.
Okay.
Favorite
Eras, yeah. Doing the WC podcast today was?
Fantastic, amazing, incredible, loved it. There's so many words I can utilize with that. And thank you to Workforce Connections for having us here today, because it's I don't know, this is not my normal cup of tea, and I loved it. And thank you, Mary Beth, for making it easy, and thank you for everybody else who's here today.
We did a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.